Hey everyone. So I'm kind of at that point in my recovery where I'm feeling like I'm mentally ready to get back to normal, but physically I'm not quite 100%. And I haven't been bedridden actually since the day of my surgery, but I've kind of been under house arrest for the past week, so I'm starting to lose my mind from boredom and figured it'd be a good time to do a video while this whole experience is still fresh in my mind. So basically, I just want to give some tips for guys who are having a hysto. God, that sounds weird to say. But here it goes. First, just some things that you might like to have on hand if you're having this procedure. This is kind of a no-brainer, and it's not specific to this procedure, but you're going to want to have a couple pairs of comfortable clothes around, whatever you lounge around in and can get in and out of pretty easily. That's what you're going to want to wear on the day of surgery and probably for several days afterwards. Personally, and this isn't much of a shocker since it's probably the most common choice, but I chose to wear sweatpants and a sweatshirt, and I'm actually still kind of wearing that stuff. Actually, I just put on jeans for the first time last night, and I was like, whoa, real clothes. But seriously, you're going to want to be comfortable, so have a couple pairs of comfortable clothes, preferably loose-fitting, especially the pants, because you tend to be pretty bloated and swollen after this kind of procedure. And so it's nice to have looser-fitting clothes, especially at your waistline. Second, sanitary napkins. I think that's a really weird term, by the way, but I'm using it because I find it the least offensive for guys like us, even if it sounds awkward. Anyway, unlike with top surgery, you don't really have drains in you after the procedure. In fact, your body is your natural drain. There's usually bleeding after any surgery, and it's got to come out somewhere, and this time it comes out of a place you probably are no longer accustomed to having blood come out of, unless you're not on T yet. And I know that sounds unpleasant, and it's also kind of ironic, since menstrual-like bleeding is about the last thing you'd expect after having those organs out, but it happens, and it can last a fair amount of time, so just be prepared. Also, a side note on this, you might want, like, tighty whities or something like them to hold the sanitary napkins. Some boxers and boxer briefs aren't terribly effective. They kind of have, like, a seam where you need it to be flat, so yeah, make sure you have underwear that works. Otherwise, you'll have to ask a nurse for some really sexy mesh underwear. And while picking up ladies or men or whoever you pick up might not be your primary concern after a surgery of this type, you might feel like wearing mesh underwear is a blow to your dignity. Or hey, maybe it's your thing. No judgment on my part. I wore mesh underwear and I wore them with pride, but you might not want to. Third, stool softener or milk of magnesia or whatever gets you going. Anesthesia and painkillers really slow your system down, and I agree with one of my dad's friends' philosophy that taking a crap ultimately makes everything, like even earaches, feel better. And that's definitely true after surgery. But it's also the case that it feels like you're trying to give birth out of your ass, like the first time you go after an operation, and stool softener really helps with that. However, I don't recommend a laxative because that can just irritate your stomach, and you'll probably already be dealing with cramping and nausea and all those other delightful gastrointestinal problems, so why compound the problem? Just like stick with a stool softener or something. I took 2 the day after surgery and 1 the day after that, and I haven't really needed it since then, but it did make a huge difference the first couple days. Four, you'll probably want like a heating pad or one of those little pillow type things with the rice that you heat in the microwave. No idea what those are called, but yeah, get a rice pillow thing. Or if you have a mom or sister or girlfriend or something, they probably have one you can lend, because I hear they're really, really effective for menstrual cramps. And while I can't attest to that, I can attest to the fact that it's really great for cramping after surgery. Alright, so that's pretty much all I can think of for things to have on hand, but some other things you might be wondering about if you're getting the procedure. One, is the surgeon going to examine you and those private parts before you get the procedure? And yes, I'd sure hope so. It can be really triggering, I know, but honestly, you don't really want to trust someone to go at you with scalpels and other medical instruments if they're willing to do it without knowing what they're going to encounter. And for me, it was the first time I'd ever been, and I won't lie, it like really, really sucked, and I was really dysphoric, both before, during, and after. But you just gotta like suck it up and deal with it, because technically, if you don't get the surgery, you should be going for those appointments every year. And I mean, if you're like me, you probably don't, but you should be. And by getting it this one time, you're pretty much avoiding it for the rest of your life. So think of it that way if it helps. Secondly, you might be wondering whether you have to stop testosterone before and after the procedure. And that's something that's going to depend on your doctor and your surgeon. Some surgeons feel like you should stop about 1 to 2 weeks before and for a couple weeks afterwards. I think it has something to do with the tissues healing and whatever. Testosterone also affects blood thickness, so that might have something to do with it. But for some reason, it's a problem for some surgeons, others don't really give a crap. My surgeon personally didn't say anything, but when I did go for my pre-op appointment with my general physician, he told me to skip a shot. And again, if you're feeling bad about that, just remember it's not like the effects of tea wear off that quickly, and plus after the surgery, you're not fighting estrogen anymore, so it's not the end of the world if you have to miss a shot or even two. Third, you might be wondering if you have to shave yourself before the procedure, especially if you've got like a really hairy belly like I used to. Well, you will be shaved if you don't shave yourself, but they actually prefer you not to shave before you get there. If you feel like it'll be too triggering to have someone else shave you, I guess you could shave beforehand, but make sure you use an electric razor. If you use a razor blade, it can apparently like open up the hair follicles and make you more susceptible to infection. As for the area you need to shave, it's a little below your belly button down to like the pubic bone. But honestly, like if you can stomach it, just let them do it. Like that way you know exactly where you're getting shaved, and plus it will make them more comfortable to go ahead with the procedure. Hospitals, like other bureaucracies, really kind of get bent out of shape and a little nervous if you do something that's like slightly out of protocol, so if you can stomach it, just let them shave you. And lastly, you're probably wondering if insurance is going to cover it. Well, probably not, because technically insurance companies don't have to, and they don't like to be nice. But there is a chance. In my case, I had to fight very, very hard to get covered. I got 4 letters stating that it was a medical necessity. They basically put the burden on you to prove that it's medically necessary, because they tend to deem it otherwise. So I had to get a letter from my endocrinologist, my surgeon, my general physician, and my therapist. And finally, after like 4 weeks or something, they did approve it. And it's worth the fight, because it's something like $10,000 to $15,000 between like hospital stay, anesthesiologist fees, and all that junk. So fight to get it covered if you can. Alright, that's really all I can think of for now. I'll probably do some more videos in the future. Sorry if this one wasn't terribly interesting, but I do hope it was helpful for anyone who's getting the procedure or considering getting the procedure. Personally, I felt like there wasn't much information out there. I had to go to a lot of sites which were intended for a different audience just to get the information I needed, and so I just wanted to get some information out there from someone like me. That way you don't have to hear it from a woman or something. But yeah, I'll do another update in the future. For now, see you guys.